Hey guys, it's Carolyn. Welcome back to the podcast and welcome to a solo episode where I go over topics that could be helpful to your business through things that are currently happening in the law firm. So today's episode is for residential contractors. All right, so I've gotten several different stories of residential contractors whose clients have canceled either before they started or during the project. For example, I just had one the other day that reached out because they had questions because they had already started the project. They were about halfway through, and the client said, "Hey, I'm terminating you. I'm going to hire this other guy because he's cheaper." Right? Okay, so where does that leave you as a residential contractor? So first, let's go to the premise of once you sign a contract, that is a promise, right? You're promising to do the work. The homeowner is promising to pay you for that work. Once you make that promise, unless the contract calls for otherwise, you can't just back out of it, right? So like for contractors, I always put in what I call the escape clause that would allow you to exit the contract and stop working for any reason if you want to. So you put that in that contract so you can have a way out, right? If there's nothing built in like that for the homeowner or for the contractor, you guys can't just cancel the contract and not face damages, right? I think homeowners, especially ones who are not involved in business, don't understand this idea that you can't just change your mind on a contract, right? You can't just say, no, that's not something I want to do. And back out and not face consequences, right? So once you sign that contract, there are consequences of just canceling. So in the case that I was just talking about, the contractors in the middle of the project, the homeowner says, "Hey, I found somebody cheaper. I'm going to go with them." What's the damages the contractor is entitled to, right? So if somebody wrongfully breaches or terminates a contract, the damages are the profit that you would have made on that job, right? So in that case, the contractor is entitled to the profits that he would have made on the job. Now, the difficult part is when this happens, you have to send a letter, say, "Hey, you breached the contract. Here's my damages." You have to go through a lawsuit, get a judgment, right? It all becomes a lot more difficult. And plus, the homeowner doesn't realize this before he makes decision to cancel the contract and realize that, hey, if I cancel this contract, I'm going to owe him some money, right? So you got to go through this whole long process because the owner did wrongfully breach the contract, which means the contractor's entitled to damages, right? And figuring out what that number is and going through that process. So what I like to do in my residential contracts and put for my residential contractors is put a cancellation clause, right? That the owner can cancel if they want to, either before it starts or during the project, but there is a cancellation fee, right? And the fee is the profit that you would have made. So this is great for a couple of reasons, right? It lets the homeowner know once they sign that contract, they can't just cancel it without a penalty, right? It defines the amount that the contractor's owed if the owner does cancel the contract, right? So then, like in the case where I'm saying the owner cancels the contract, contractor says, "Hey, according to our contract, you canceled the contract. That's fine, but you owe me, $20,000, which is the profit I would have made on this job." So it probably, if you had a cancellation clause in your contract in that situation, it probably would have prevented the termination or the homeowner ending the contract because they would have known up front that, hey, if I cancel this contract, it's going to cost me $20,000 or whatever the cancellation fee that you write in is. And so at the end of the day, I'm not actually going to save money with this other contractor because I'm going to have to pay this fee, right? It's a great thing to have in there for this type of situation. Also, it's a good thing to have a cancellation clause because there's lots of people that don't take signing a contract seriously and realize that they're in for that promise. And so that you can, point it out, this is my cancellation fee if you cancel. And so two is that if you're canceled before you start, you can charge the cancellation fee, right? And so sometimes what will happen is a homeowner signs a contract and something changes and now all of a sudden they don't have the funds for the project, right? You could agree to let them off the contract without the cancellation fee. You could demand payment of the cancellation fee and say, hey guys, when you're ready to move forward, I'll apply this credit to your contract, right? But that way you're made whole for the time that you had in your schedule, the work that you put in to get the contract together, any plans, specs, permitting process, all of that, you're made whole. And if they come back and say, oh, things have changed again, we're ready to move forward, you're like, okay, I will credit the cancellation fee that you pay, right? So there's always give and take, and there's always options if you write them in your contract, right? And so the main thing is to have all these options in your contract before that's even signed, right? Before, and we kind of go through it with them. Hey, you can cancel at any time, but here's the cancellation fee. And you can tell them why the cancellation fee is there, because I've spent time, money. I have reserved space on my calendar that will now be open, and I can't just go sign up another job that fast, and I won't be able to do any work. So these are the things that's going to cover, right? So they know up front that they can't just sign a contract and then cancel it for no reason without having some kind of penalty, right? Now, and so you build that in the front end, everybody knows. And so if that happens, right, obviously you're entitled to be paid for the work that you did already and your profit on top of that, right? So if the contractor that was in the middle of the project, I'm hoping he's billing in advance, right? So that he's already paid. He may, he's billing in advance. He's already paid for the work he did and probably paid for the next step, which he can credit towards the cancellation fee. Like if you have more money than you've done work and there's a built-in cancellation fee, you can apply the funds you have to that cancellation fee, so you don't have to refund them. But being upfront about this in the contract, letting them, yes, they can sign it, it will be enforceable, but if you'll walk them through the specific provisions of, you have the right to cancel the contract, but here's what it's going to cost, right? And that way they know up front, so they can be, number one, only sign the contract if they're serious, and number two, realize that if they cancel the contract, that there's going to be a penalty and they can't just walk away, right? It becomes what it should be, that the promise you made is enforceable. Having the fee built in just makes the resolution of it much faster, right? Because you have it built in. This is how much my cancellation fee was. This is how much you owe me now that you've canceled, right? And so I mentioned earlier an escape clause for contractors. This is something I like to build in because there are so many situations that I've heard of where all of a sudden, or throughout the project, the relationship is between the contractor and the homeowner has just deteriorated and gotten worse, and it's gotten to the point where you can no longer work for them. It could be verbal abuse, it could be controlling the project. There is just, you guys, you have to understand, I never see a good project. I only see the bad ones. And I've heard some real horror stories of things that have gone on projects from the homeowner side to the contractor. And if we don't have an escape clause, then if you just leave the project, even if, there's rough circumstances, technically you're in breach of the contract. So what the escape clause does is lets you, the contractor, and all it says is that the contractor can cancel this contract at any time for any reason. And then usually I put in, and we'll refund money for work not done yet, right? In that kind of situation, when you cancel the contract, you're not going to take the profit that you would have made, right? You're going to be paid for the work that you had done and then return anything else. But that way you have an out if a situation becomes something you can't work with, or, it just goes south, or, they put the project on hold and you're waiting to go back indefinitely. You can cancel it and take it off your schedule and say, hey guys, let me know when you're ready to pick up, and we can pick it up from there. But that way you're not on the hook just waiting for them to tell you go again. So these are some really great provisions to build into your contract. If you don't already have them there, if you need suggestions on language or something, you can email me, reach out to me on social media. I'm always around. And really, guys, it's just as easy as putting, the words in the contract, like, hey, the contractor has the right to terminate at any time for no reason, and the contractor will return any money not earned yet, right? That's for the escape clause. For the cancellation clause, you put, hey, once the contract is signed, in order for the owner to terminate or end this contract without cause, there's a cancellation fee of X, whatever that percentage of profit would be for you. So taking these steps on the front end, number one, to educate the homeowner they just can't cancel without some kind of penalty. and putting in there the amount. If they do cancel, here's the amount. Will really, number one, prevent people from doing that. Number two, if they do it, then we already have an amount decided. It's a way easier case than trying to have to prove your profits. In that situation, we have to go back to previous jobs and see how much profit you made on those jobs and say you probably would have made that much profit on this job, right? It's way more complex. So if you just write it in there, it's up front. And then the escape clause is great for contractors to have as their scapegoat to get out of any situation that becomes, untenable. So, hey guys, if you have questions, reach out to me, send me an email, reach out to me on social media. If you have things you want me to address on the podcast, I'm always open to ideas. All right, great hearing from you guys. Thanks.